Blue Eagle kami di mapipigil sa pagbabalitang tumpak at tama. Buhay atenista sa loob sa labas ng eskwela, ating ibibida lahat ng pera. Punong at tulong ni Pagka Blue Eagle, galing hiding at tigil, blue and white, one big fight. Radyo, katipunan, radyo, katipunan,
Radyo Katipunan. News, insights, inspiration. Radyo Katipunan. Down from the hill and down to the world. Radyo Katipunan. The voice of the Blue Eagle. Radyo Katipunan, 87.9 FM.
Radyo, 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 katipunan. Radyo, katipunan. Radyo, katipunan. Radyo, 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 katipunan. Radyo, 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 katipunan. The voice of the Blue Eagle kami di mapipigil sa pagbabalitang tumpak at tama. Buhay atenista sa loob sa labas ng eskwela, ating ibibida lahat ng pera. Radyo, katipunan, radyo, katipunan, kawal ni Ignacio, katipunero sugo, todo sa kayod, punong at tulong ni Pagka Blue Eagle, galing hiding at tigil, blue and white, one big fight. Radyo, katipunan, radyo, katipunan, katipunan.
Let us understand mental health and explore how we can take care of our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. Welcome to your weekly slice of mental health tips and tidbits with Pat and B, here on MindEd.
Sa'yo sumisilong kapag ang puso ko'y pagod.
Hey guys!
Welcome to MindEd, your
Welcome
weekly
to
slice of mental health tips and tidbits. My name is Pat.
And this is me. I am just a letter. And
Hello.
yeah. Talaga kailangan may ganun.
Ano naman? Ay, welcome to my... Sorry. It's the ring light. It's doing things to my mental. Hello.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey,
Mm-mm.
so what are we doing today? Actually, sorry Pat. How are you?
Oh.
I know you have a lot of stories because I
No, I don't.
yeah,
How
you
dare you?
You do. You do. You do have
I
a lot
do.
of stories. How was your week? And week.
Week.
Week. Yeah,
Oo.
weekend.
Unbeknownst to you guys, surprise, last episode was pre-recorded. Haha, joke lang.
We're not
Totoo
supposed to
naman.
say that. Ano ka
Oo
ba?
nga eh. Sorry, peace. Pero no, I think honestly, that was one of my most favorite na nga most favorite episodes or conversations that I've had. Davey Langit, I know you're not watching probably right now. Congrats, by the way, on the new release.
Oh, yeah.
But also, just pick his brain. Really, he's just an amazing person. So, di yun bola. Di ka namin binabola, kuya.
Yeah. We love Davey.
Yeah, we love Davey.
Amazing interview. That's right, Justin.
sabi
Amazing
ni
interview. That's true. Oo.
Pero yeah, so
we have kids on
whilst-
the show now.
I know eh. Oo nga eh. Whilst that was happening, I was also out of town with my family. We went to Batangas, to this nice nature kind of reserve, kind of outdoorsy place. And it was just such a good time because we got some time really to relax and to just decompress as a family. And so wala kaming itinerary, there were no plans really. It's just time to just decompress and just be, without having to do. The best time to be human beings as opposed to human doing. So wala lang, talagang it was just pure rest. Hindi din ako like the last time kasi we went to that place, or the first time we ever went to that place, I tried to mix in some work there because that was after Chai had given birth, after I had gone on a leave for about a month, and I was trying to transition back into work. And so this time I just really said like, nope, nothing. I just want to be by myself, be with my family, and it was really, really good, and I'm really happy that I got to do that because I recognize that some people don't get to do that.
Okay, congratulations for making that conscious and mindful decision. Magtubig ka muna, mukhang inuubo ka pa. I don't get where the cough is coming from, but ayan, nagtubig na siya, folks. Yeah, so that's a really wonderful story. It's very inspiring. I mean, next time sama ako, sabi ko,
Oo, please. Sige nga.
Bian will insert herself in the lives of Patrick's family.
Bakit? Fan ka naman namin
Ayan, kasama si Justin. We
Pwede
fam.
din si Jan. Oo.
We fam.
Okay. Pero ikaw,
Yes,
sige, kamusta ka? What was the ganaps of the life of the youth?
The ganaps of the life is, this is so konyo. The ganaps of the life, panindigan natin, is, well, as you notice, I have a different setup now.
I see that, yes.
Currently not at home. I'm in the home of my uncle. Yan.
Ooh.
For some family. I'm in the South, man. Like,
Yes,
magkapit
you're just
bahay
next
lang
door.
tayo.
I know. That's right.
Super. Yan. And, yeah, we have kids on the show. Sabi ko nga, ikaw. We have Cassie. Now I have Charlie. It's my nephew. The anak siya ng minsan ko. But yeah. So, so we're staying here for some, like, simple family time lang.
Yeah.
And then, we just laid kasi our tita, hindi naman bago yun sa mga listeners natin.
Yeah.
But we parang have just, parang iniwan namin or nilay namin sa resting place, yung ashes si tita. So, and then right after we went here and spent time. So, I'm gonna stay here until like this weekend before I go back to the north. Yeah. So, southerner muna. Southern belle muna ako ngayon.
Yeah,
and then,
okay.
and then next week, the north. But yeah, other than that, work's been kind of chill at the moment because yun nga, medyo na-prioritize ko muna yung family this week. And what else happened? Nothing much actually. It's just pretty chill. Oh, marami tayong surprise projects. Hi, Justin. Marami tayong kidnap projects here and there. And there. You hear the kids, okay?
Oh, actually, it's not naman that audible, so it's all good.
Okay,
oh, hello, Charlie!
Hi, Charlie. Someone saying hi. Good.
Yeah.
Hindi naman si Justin nagre-react sa comment to. OM daw sa kidnap projects. But yeah, we like kidnap projects because it feeds our creative hunger.
That's right.
Right? So, yun naman. And of course, exercise, balance in our lives. Right? And it's a healthy, productive breather.
Yeah. I'm happy you're being really intentional and being mindful about, time that you're taking for yourself.
Yeah. Here we
Hindi
are.
naman
We are.
siguro nagpapatama ako kanina. Pero sige. Hello! What's that? Okay. What's that like?
He's showing us the live feed.
Oh, okay. Hey, thanks
Yep.
for tuning in, bruh. So good. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Anyway.
anyway,
Sorry,
ano nga-
sige,
what-
sige.
what's this episode about, B? Could you give me some background and some context?
Well, basically what Teka lang, sandali. Ikaw muna mag-ano. Ikaw muna sandali.
Hello. Hi. Bakit nga ba? On the spot ako. Okay, sorry. So, it's I guess so many things have been happening with regard to like the political or the social political space. And we decided really just to sit down and kind of reflect on not just the things that have been happening, but the core, hindi siya issue but the core, I think, mentality around why election seasons or the campaign season is such a big deal to a lot of people, not even just for adults, but also for kids or for younger people, especially nowadays where people are more aware and more exposed to information and people are online and everything is happening also online. So, yes, B, welcome back. Could you tell us more, please?
Sorry, I was actually off my monitors then. I had to transfer so that nag-feedback eh. Anyway, yeah, so ano ba mga sinabi mo na? Sorry. So say I was off
Just
monitor.
pretend that I did not say anything.
No, bakit
That
nga
it was
ba?
quiet the entire time. Yeah.
I'm so sorry. No. I guess, bakit nga ba? Because we were thinking about what to talk about this week. And then, I'm not sure if your feed is the same, Patrick, and maybe
On
our
my
guest,
social media?
And, your social media.
Yeah.
But ang daming mga like, getting ready for the elections.
Yes.
Yes. And then, of course, we have the pink carpet on our feed. Hindi naman natin tinatago dito sa show. By the way, you're
Right.
not wearing pink. Akala ko ba magpipink ka every episode natin?
Sa labahan eh. Sorry.
Lols. Okay, so anyway. Yeah, and then sabi ko, okay, ang tagal na natin hindi nagkakaroon ng topic about maybe some social issues or social political issues.
Yeah.
Marrying with, of course, our mental health or psychology. So parang, okay, why not have an episode to sort of, talk about good leadership.
Mhm.
So, parang, yeah, tama,
Yeah.
interesting. Like,
Oo.
bakit, I mean, what makes a good leader, maybe, sort of like,
Yeah.
ang dami kasi natin, nakahaba pa ng time natin para pag-isipan ko. So, we're hoping that this episode would somehow make our listeners, our audience, kumbaga, to probably help them in
Yeah.
choosing and be really responsible voters.
Yeah. Buti na lang pala tama yung sinabi ko habang naka-off monitor ka.
So sorry. Nakakatawa
Hindi.
ka. Pero, yeah, okay.
De, ano lang, and I guess the psychology spin here is, our political beliefs are often, or more often than not, indicative also of our personal values and our personal belief systems. And how, on the show and in my practice, we place a very high importance on values, because values are what shapes really what the directions of our lives. Parang there are life's chosen directions. And so, the reason why we're talking about it on this show rather than on any other episode, although all our other shows are also talking about this, is because it impacts, or it has a direct impact on all of our livelihoods. not, I don't mean livelihood, just work and career, but really how we move through the next 6 years, really. And so we're very, very fortunate to have on our episode or on our show today guests from Prophet Project Philippines. And so B, could you tell us a little bit more? And let's let the guests talk about Prophet Project. Pero
Yes.
can you tell us about who our guests are today?
Okay, so based on our copy provided by our producer, so let the guests correct us na lang later, or maybe they can explain more about it when we call them on screen. So basically, Prophet Project PH is a community seeking to integrate faith and justice, deep spirituality, and radical praxis. So they uphold Jesus as Savior and Liberator, offering us liberation from personal and social oppression, freeing us towards a life of love, compassion, justice, hope, and courage. Okay. All right. So without further ado, actually they are not really strangers of the station. So
Yeah.
they've been like they had like shows or have shows now with radyo-katipunan. So let's call on Karlo, Abadines, and Johanne Arceo. Hey
Hi
guys, welcome
guys.
to MindEd.
And hi
Oh,
everyone.
good evening po.
Good evening. Salamat sa pag-attend. Hindi na ako magtatagal.
on air.
Thank you for being on our show today. Yeah, so tama ba? It's a community seeking to integrate faith and justice. So it's more, I guess the way I'm reading into it is it's like really trying to espouse the tenets of our faith, of our religion, and seeing that happen in the governance and leadership of this country. So could you tell us a little bit more about that, though?
Sure, I guess I'll start. No,
Okay.
also we're a community that was born, no, with friends coming together, and we had the interest, no, of really just talking about faith and justice. Sometimes when you're in the circles of justice or activists, not many people talk about faith aspects, right? Or when we go to our church communities, people seem allergic, no, to talk about politics and
Yeah.
aspects of society. And in that sense, no, we were finding it difficult to find a space, no. So we kind of brought together a group of friends and said, we were all convinced that somehow our faith has to bear fruit in terms of actions of justice, compassion, and to promote that aspect, no, of our faith. It's not just a personal thing, no. It's not just between me and my God, but I think integrally it has something to do about me and my neighbor and the situation of my neighbor. And in that sense, so we were born, no. We're not just Catholic, Roman Catholics. We come from various denominations as well. So we have
Yeah.
Protestant friends from evangelical circles as well, and we engage in conversations about this.
Mm.
Baka si Joe wants to to add.
Yes. Actually, taking from yung pagkaka-describe din kanina ni Patrick about values being a driving force for the way we decide, for the way we engage with with the social political issues of our time. I think Prophet Project is the space where people can really speak from their values, no, can kumbaga concretize their values in their social and political participation. So yun, that's just something to introduce Prophet Project.
Thank you. Okay, so that's Prophet Project. Pero, syempre, ang rude naman namin. Could you tell us a little bit more about you guys? So, I
Yes.
mean, apart from your participation in Prophet Project, I mean, I don't gather that that this is your like main hustle. So, could you tell us a little bit more about your background?
I guess I'll just start. So I'm a graduate, actually, of Ateneo, double major in development studies and psychology. So I actually have a bit of
Nice.
psychology background,
Yeah.
but I think I'm an imposter. I don't remember a lot of the
That's
things.
not true.
But
Okay
anyway,
lang yan.
and then after that, I ended up actually working in the social apostolate, Simbahang Lingkod ng Bayan of the Jesuits, no? And Since then, I've been doing a lot of faith and justice work. But now I work in the education sector. Yon, also in a Catholic institution. So, yon, and I work as an advocacy officer.
Nice.
Yay for advocacy officers. Yay. I just have to comment. Yung boses si Karlo parang galing ng langit. Carlo, baba natin yung reverb natin contest.
Wait lang.
Feedback tayo sa radyo. Reverb off muna tayo. Ayan. Thank you. Anyway, sorry for cutting you. Joe, how about you?
Hi,
What's your
yes.
background? Yeah.
Okay, ako naman I graduated from BS Management from Ateneo. So I was a SOM major. But then after college, I did JVP. I did Jesuit Volunteers for the Philippines, and I feel like
Nice.
that changed a lot of things for me. After that, I turned to NGOs. I turned to development work as my primary career, and then eventually it led me to campus ministry of Ateneo. It was a spiritual awakening in a sense. And then from there, I studied theology, and now I'm teaching theology, at the College of Ateneo. My primary interests now are liberation theology and perhaps some social entrepreneurship.
So kayo may
Thank you.
perhaps.
Perhaps kasi
Explain ng perhaps.
Hindi naman
Nems.
pwede parating certain, di ba? Perhaps
oo,
naman.
perhaps. Na parang ganon. Anyway, I'm doing some kind of consultancy lang for my friends who are doing social entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Pero most of my time is really for formation work and education work.
Okay. And then, sorry, I just have to ask, like, Profit Project, is it like a passion project of you guys? How did it came about? And then, who are like the people involved here? Is it like a legit corporation na marami talaga and what? Or, yeah, can you tell something more of, share something more
How
maybe
did it come
how
to
it,
be?
come to be.
Sure. I'm not sure. Is my sound? Do I still sound like?
Sound like
You're
that.
heavenly, but no longer reverby. Yeah.
All right. Sure. Thanks. Well, it's not. It's a passion project. For sure. We are an informal community. It's not a very big community. It's quite small actually. But we've held events, no, and we've invited people into our conversations over the past months. And actually, kakastart lang talaga namin just before the pandemic, and then the pandemic happened, and everything kind of just like, all right, so this is a bit difficult to sustain. But we continue to meet every Sunday. In a sense, we're having our own prayer sessions and whatnot. But it's really a passion project, and all of us have full-time jobs. I
Yeah.
wish I could do this more full-time. But you don't really get paid for a lot of your passion. So
That's true.
maybe someday magagawa namin to nila John, our passion.
Yeah. Also, we do have a regular stream on Facebook every
Yes.
Wednesday night. Hindi mo siya, oo. Pero again, that's also sort of like a nerd session between us and
Okay.
some of our
Explain,
friends.
bakit nerd session?
Bakit nerd session? Like, what do you guys talk about in your show or your stream?
We talk about theology and then we talk about things that really make us excited, no? So especially now na punong-puno yung social media ng conversations about politics and the
Yeah.
elections. I think what we're yung nerding on right now is how our faith can be like a diving point or parang a diving board, no, for our involvement in this conversations about elections and politics. So yun.
Sorry, so I think this is like a general interest question, but I guess more so for you guys as part of a socio-political charged organization. But what's your take on the current hindi siya environment. What's the word? I'm looking for a better word
Landscape?
for it. Landscape, yeah, I guess of the 2022 elections. Kasi parang sa akin, it's the elections unlike any other. And I don't think it's just because I'm getting older and more aware really of what's happening, but it's as if it's just a different type of animal altogether. What did you say so?
Yeah.
Go,
Ako
Jo.
muna para mas malalim yung kay Karlo.
Oo, sige,
Wow.
sige. Kahit sino mauna. Okay lang.
Ako, my personal take on this is that I appreciate how the movements have become so grassroots oriented. Parang people are really going out of their way to be involved in campaigning their candidate. I think it's also very much centered on values. As you can see, the conversations don't really revolve around the platforms anymore. I mean, don't really revolve around yung plans, no, the political plans of the candidates. What people are talking about now is the character, the kind of leadership, the kind of person, no, the candidates are, rather than what they plan to do when they get elected. So I feel like the elections now really speak to the people in a more personal and values-oriented way. Yun. Kaya siya nagiging kaya siya nagiging polarized in a sense. Yun.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, get it. I get it. Carlo. your turn?
Yeah. Well, I guess it's as Patrick was mentioning, no. I think a lot is at stake. I think people really
Yeah.
feel that, right? That a lot is at
Mm.
stake, and we've gone through a lot of things actually the
Oh yeah.
past years. We kind of
Yeah,
know
yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah.
and to be honest, I think that has affected people's mental health, right? Sometimes, when
Oh,
I
yeah.
go into workshops, my wish is that I just want a situation, a landscape where I can sleep peacefully, right?
Right.
Every night, where I don't really have to worry that something bad will happen, right? Like, in that sense. And
Yeah.
I think that's where we're
Mhm.
coming from, right? And we
Yep.
entered that election period with that kind of thinking as well. Many, no, people
Mhm.
with
Mhm.
different expectations. And
Yeah.
as Joe was mentioning, yeah, it's a polarized environment,
Yeah.
and it's kind of scary actually how fast people are in attacking each other for their for
Oh.
their candidate
Yeah.
preferences. And I think
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
even
yeah.
more I think it's even more vicious, right, than the 2016 elections. And
Oh, yeah.
I thought the 2016 was intense, but when the 2022 happened, filing pa lang, 'di ba?
Yeah.
You saw all
Kala
this.
mo bukas ay election eh.
Oo, kala mo bukas election na, 'di ba? Tapos nagsabihan na agad yung mga tao, bakit ganyan yung kandidato mo, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just like, whoa, chill, 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 you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that's why it's such a charged, no,
Mhm.
elections. And
Mhm.
even us in Profit, we support different candidates to a certain
Yep.
extent, but we never really fight about it, right? We're just like, let's talk
Yeah.
about it, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is like what we're doing now. There's a
Yeah.
space to, talk about this calmly
Discuss. Yeah. Oo.
and yeah, discuss. So
Siguro, okay, sige. Just to be very, very honest and very frank. Honest na nga, frank pa, diba?
of
Pero
course, yeah.
when I was in college, which was
Age
not a long time
reveal,
ago. Oh,
sige.
no, no. Not too long ago naman. I felt
Okay.
I was fairly apolitical. Parang I didn't necessarily side with any particular political party. By the way, I'm not from Ateneo, so don't judge me. Pero not that you guys are judges. Sorry, that's not.
We're
Sorry.
not
Okay, tama.
judging.
I know. I love the
Patrick.
Ateneo. But anyway,
Hey.
so there were two major political parties when I was in college. And I voted, of course. I exercised my right to vote, but I didn't really care. I really just kind of looked at each individual platform or each individual's platform, especially the ones who are relevant to me. Um, and and that's kind of the mindset or the mentality that I took with me. Coming from social from college government or university student government, and
Yeah.
going into the local and national elections, na parang
Mhm.
I started to become more aware and still at the same, still very independent mindset rather than political party.
Mhm.
But now it's just I can't help but choose a side, really.
Yeah.
Because tulad na sabi ni Carlo kanina, there's so much at stake, and when you see hirap to be like very apolitical or politically neutral here when I'm talking about it.
Mhm.
But you guys are right. It's there's so much at stake, and it's parang you do more harm by staying quiet.
Yeah.
And by
yeah.
trying to be in the middle and being neutral than,
Mhm.
so, yun lang, wala lang. Just,
No, no,
joke lang.
no.
Siyempre, may,
It's
may point
okay.
yun, diba? Um,
Oo.
so, why does it feel like, as in, even if as we're coming from, and November 15 was what? Just this past Monday?
Yeah, 3 days ago.
Why does it feel like sa pag-file pa lang ng COC? Sorry, so a lot of like my political science beliefs or ano ba, political strategy comes from watching stuff like House of Cards or maybe even Game of Thrones. So why does it feel like a show? I swear. So yun yung siguro that's one of the burning questions here.
Mhm.
Anybody can answer really. Your thoughts at the very least.
Why
Yeah.
does it
Feel like a show. Sige, habang
Yeah.
pinag-iisipan ng guest natin, can I just point out that it's not really taking sides eh. It's really like it's not really naman siya like picking sides na parang kampi ako dito, kampi ako doon. But it's really
Right.
more seeing like what's good for the country. For our fellow men. It's not really like picking sides na parang kakalabanin mo yung isa. Hindi eh. It's not fighting against each other eh. It's building. Or I'd like to say na parang who's a better builder, maybe the better fit, not really a better talaga in theory, but a better fit for what we need right now. So, yeah, anyway, sorry. I just wanted to add on to what you said.
Yeah, I get that.
But
I appreciate
but, yeah.
that.
But yeah, I do have to agree that it kind of feels like a show now, maybe because number one, the very obvious that we're all on screen and everything is consumed on screen. That's why probably it feels like it. And of course, I want to pick up what Joe mentioned kanina na everything is very personal. So kumbaga sa mga serye na pinapanood natin ngayon, they're very character based. If we're going to look at like the landscape, the political landscape, the social political landscape that we have right now, it's very character based or character driven. It's probably why like we're invested. Well, pag nanonood tayo ng TV series, right? We're invested in the characters and what they represent. And now they're just not representing something. This is like actually we're living in that landscape. At tayo yung characters, whether it's a major character, supporting character, incidental characters, we're part of it eh. That's just me.
I agree with B and with B actually. I think another factor there is that those who are in possession, or those who have the greater platforms, those who have the louder voices, they tend to be the ones who get to control the narratives. Those are the ones who get to dictate for us what we have to talk about, not to talk about. And I think another that's another thing that we can discuss with a session like this. The kind of leadership that has the power to control narratives can basically drive the kind of debates and conversations that we have on the ground. Yon. In a way, what I'm trying to say is, in a way, it has something to do with the kind of narrative that's being perpetuated by those who are in positions of leadership. Yun.
Right now, yeah.
But I go back to the reference of Pat, no? It's like House of Cards, right? It's scary in a weird way. And if you know all these political actors that are moving, right? It's scary. It's scary because even people who've been quiet, right, for the longest time, suddenly come back, even though we knew they had corruption issues in their time. And now they're back and they're brokering relationships and forming alliances at the national level, right? So when you just look at that, right, like that image, it's the return, right? It's like literally that's why it's the return, right? They've been waiting patiently, and now they're back, right? and
You're
I think
all asking why.
yeah, you're
Sorry.
all asking why, right? And going back to I guess to the topic of today, when we were talking, when we were invited, I was thinking, oh no, what can we talk about when it comes to the psychology and of a good leader? And what I'm seeing right now is that is the psychology of bad leaders, right? Like like that aspect, right, of the need to keep power, right? There, that idea of preservation, that I want that so much, right? That to go back into power, and sometimes even in Profit Project, we do end up talking about that, because sometimes when we talk about power, it's not just a external thing, right? A lot of
Mhm.
it also has to come about your own psychological
For sure.
situation, right? Like
For
what's
sure.
what's
Oh,
driving you, right, to
Yes.
yeah.
lie, to want power, to be corrupt. And some parts of me is like, there's something broken there, right?
Yeah.
There's something there,
Yeah.
right?
Ako naman parang that plus the structure that enables that part of ourself. 'Di ba? Parang it might be part of human nature to try to gain power and to try to do self-preservation, right? To always try to keep what makes you comfortable and secure. But if you put that in a structure that makes it easier for you to control other people, to manipulate narratives, to control resources to your advantage, then that becomes a formula for bad leadership. Yeah.
Okay. But sabi nga ni, this is often, I think, misattributed, I think, to Machiavelli or Nietzsche. No, but it was Sir John
Right.
Dalberg Acton who said, diba, absolute power corrupts.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I'm sorry. So my perspective here is as a father, and so I have a 1 year old. She's 14 months old tomorrow,
Oh,
and I just para when I think about the kind of environment or the kind of environment, like actual physical environment that she's going to be growing up in, if we decide to stay here or if we decide to raise her here, it's scary.
Mhm.
It's legit
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah.
And it's just so hard to wrap my head around the fact that yun yan. So, okay, so recap lang. What we're seeing here is the psychology of bad leaders, and the part of or one of the aspects of bad leadership is the desire to ano ba keep power circulating between or amongst a
Yeah.
small
To
yes.
group of
preserve
people.
that much power within
Yeah.
your reach, no,
Yeah.
perhaps.
Yeah. To have this a certain type of control
Mm.
also.
What's scary also, I think, is the whole idea around people just being absolutely willing to not believe the truth. And parang nakikita mo talaga dito
Yeah.
yung ano ba? I avidly play video games, and there's one favorite video game series that I play called Assassin's Creed. And one of their ano ba mottos is like is that nothing is true and everything is permitted. And parang yung ibig sabihin lang nun is that truth is relative. And or not relative, subjective. And everything is within reach or access of the realm of possibility, and parang and that to see that happen in real life is just parang how. Yun yung
Yeah.
frustration ko is like, how is this happening? I saw news earlier today on my feed, just like Bian and I were talking about, na um a lot of supporters of the current administration have tendency or higher tendency to believe in fake news than other, I think, populations. And that's just okay. So maybe
Yeah.
you can explain
Yeah.
that.
I think,
Yeah, it's noisy.
sige.
Go
Ako
ahead, go.
Go ahead, yo.
naman, my personal take on that is that people tend to believe news that affirm their bias already. Diba? I mean, that's a very, I don't know, that's just a basic understanding of psychology for me. But I think it's, at some point in their life, they decided that that's their candidate because that's the candidate that very much represents their character or that represents their personal narrative. And then when that candidate already feels very convincing as their representative, they commit everything to supporting that candidate. And whatever that candidate turns as truth, affirms their bias already. So I don't think it's an issue for me of people not trying to understand or believe the truth. It's just people being very committed to a bias that they've already had in the past, and the difficulty there is unlearning that kind of bias rather than turning their gaze towards the truth.
Yeah.
Yun.
Yeah. Well, I think just connecting to what Joe said, confirmation bias, and that the idea that even social media just feeds you that stuff
Yeah.
continuously, like really, like our psychological make, our what we think, right, is true, is really gets warped. When you like and share the same posts, when you see the same things all over in your wall, and you see your friends sharing the same thing, and you like it, right, you start to believe that the truth that you are in the bubble that you are in is the truth, right? And I think that's what makes it scary, right? And it affirms. But actually, I had a conversation recently about this, about historical revisionism and whatnot. And most of the time, the people who know the truth, objectively, historical fact, we tackle things on a logical level. This is rational. This is the fact. This is the truth. But most of the time, I think it's affect. No, it's an emotional thing. There is something, people are so connected, right, to certain candidates. No, I'm not sure if you've been able to watch the vlogs of certain candidates, and when you watch it, feel good talaga siya, as in like good vibes, nakakainis kasi alam mo yung katotohanan, pero
Yeah.
people respond to that, and in a
Yeah.
sense, you get attracted to these people,
Yeah.
and then you have informations that surround this person, that affirm the goodness of this person, right? And then you start to create this whole image na
Ideal.
everyone else is lying. This is the
Yeah.
truth
Mhm.
about this person, diba?
I think that's the challenge of our society now. Like everything is so noisy here and there,
Correct.
Mm-mm.
and then most of the time it's just noise,
Yeah.
Noise.
or fabricated truth, maybe.
Yeah.
Something like that. And then, ang ano ba dito, of course, we also live in a very visual world at the moment.
Mm-mm.
And there are actually tricks to sort of like make it more attractive so that it's more believable. But
Yeah.
these are actually just noise. And I think
Yeah.
the challenge for each individual is to really know where
Yeah.
and what to listen,
Yeah.
who to listen
Yeah.
to, and
Yeah.
really just filter the noise, and
Yeah.
then filter all those I don't know, fancy confettis.
Yeah. I agree, no, and I think that's one thing that we in Profit Project is striving to contribute to the conversations. When things get very difficult to discern, kasi minsan sunod-sunod yung information, and with the social media in our that on the tip of our fingertips, mas on the tip of our fingers, mas mahirap na lalong isipin or i-filter out kung ano yung papaniwalaan. And in moments like that, it is that quiet space in our spirituality that we find our sanctuary most of the time, diba?
Yeah.
When we start thinking and feeling from our hearts, to really ask ourselves, what is the more loving thing to do? What is really the invitation of our faith in this particular moment or in this particular event?
Yeah.
May it be as big as sinong iboboto ko, or may it be as small as how do I respond to this troll, or how do I respond to this apologist? Most of the time, it's a quiet discernment that guides us kung ano
Yeah.
talaga yung pwedeng i-filter. And I think that's something the spirituality can contribute
Yeah.
to the bigger discussion.
Thank you. No, ang sa akin parang it also is very indicative of a deeper. It's not it's not all parang I like to think that it's not even the fault of the candidates anymore. It's more a cultural thing. We've become so enamored by attraction and entertainment, and that's I think that's what I was saying also kanina, na parang why does it seem like it's become a show? And it's, I guess I found my answer. It's because they're banking on the one thing that a lot. I don't think it's even a Filipino thing. It's a global thing. Everybody likes to be entertained. Ever since um parang ever since like the Middle Ages or even before that, people have always looked towards entertainment, and people are now backing on that. That's why politicians have vlogs, and and all of these things are happening. And but I'm glad that you guys are around, because these are the important conversations. Really, it's about learning to think critically. And sadly, and I'm glad that you guys are in education, because that's sadly one of the things that we're missing, or are not being taught at a very young age. We're not taught to think critically.
Yeah.
And parang, but so thinking about it, by the way, speaking of filters, I like your pop filter. It's color.
My
Subtle.
phone.
Very, very subtle.
Hindi
Um,
naman masyadong subtle, pati church.
Tamang
actually,
foreground lang. Tamang foreground lang.
sakto lang. No, but I think ultimately, when we think about bad leadership, it's easy now to distinguish between bad leadership and good leadership. And I guess coming from our conversation today, it's somebody whose heart is more towards the betterment of the greater good of the greater majority, rather than for themselves, diba? If bad leadership is about circulating and preserving power, good leadership is then about not prioritizing the preservation of power, but rather just using the power for good. And it's also about, I guess, I don't know what to make of the whole like controlling the narrative, but I guess maybe it's about not even just trying to control the narrative, but contributing to a better, more hopeful, more constructive narrative. One that doesn't seek to eliminate history or even repeat history, but rather one that tries to um, grow and be better than how we used to be, taking the history
Yeah.
or the lessons from history, and
Yeah.
just do better.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think that's a
Mm.
challenge lang kasi like what we're saying now, what we're all discussing, parang feel naman we're on the same boat, the same page.
Yeah.
But in theory, these are all like very, kumbaga parang ano ba, idealistic, I guess. That's the ideal. Hey, that's the dream.
Yeah.
But in reality, in the practical, more practical level, maybe like, how then will you really learn how to listen to the right people, and how you know if when you are believing the right people who have true intentions, good intentions for the country and not just for their own power? How do you do
Really
that?
good question. Yeah.
Ay,
Go,
go, Jo. May
Karlo.
sasabihin.
Hindi, sige. Ikaw muna ako. Ikaw wala.
Sige.
Uh-uh.
Well, I think, I think discernment really would be a difficult thing, no? And actually, part of it is also, I guess, media, right? Like, to what extent do we get to know candidates? And I think it becomes even more difficult today because, social media, and we don't really get to hear people on their front, no? But I think there it's important to know character, right? Like, the idea of character, where they're coming from, the formation, right? What moves them and brings them, right? Just as I was mentioning kanina, no, there are aspects of like when you're so greedy for power and money and wealth and everything, right? There's that aspect of you, right, that you're just trying to fill it up, right? And
Yeah.
ako, sometimes I just go back to like, Pope Francis is really the cool guy, right? And every time I look at him, I just think of him as he's an enlightened person, right? Like his heart is so full that he doesn't want to get things anymore, right? Like
Yeah.
there's no desire to accumulate, right? And
Right.
interestingly, when he wrote about it in Laudato Si, he was saying na there is an aspect of us, right? When it's broken, right? When it's something, when it's not healed properly, right? um, our negativities, those toxic aspects of ourselves spill out, right? Like it comes out, it hurts other people. And I think that's very real for our leaders, right? And so when we're looking at judging and looking at it's so good to just it's so hard though to meet politicians, especially. It's so hard to see them as they are, because I know and we know that they always come out with a mask, right? And I think that's the difficult now, and we have to now bank on, right? Ano yung sinasabi ng mga tao tungkol sa tao na to? Mabait ba siya? Meron ba siyang historia na nangurakot siya? In the history, when this person was still small, meaning hindi pa siya naging kandidato for presidency, how was that person, right? Did they think that they were above everyone else? Or did they see themselves as serving their constituents, right? Kung maliit ka pa lang na tao, mayor ka or councilor ka pa lang, or kung naging barangay captain ka man, how did you treat the people around you? Because I think that shows a lot about who you are, di ba? If you treat them like as if you are above them, medyo delikado na yan na sign, no? As you accumulate more, you think more and more that you're the most important person in the room, no?
Yeah.
And I think that's a gauge, right, of how we start to understand
Hindi mo kaya
candidates.
umupo sa economy class. I wonder.
Yeah.
Oh my
May
God,
tanong si
totoo
Bian.
yan.
Go.
Ako? Sorry.
Ah.
Alright. Yeah, siguro just to bring us back na to the practicality, no? Maybe in your personal space, ayan, talking about being personal and having characters. Okay, if you have a favorite character in our life now, or pwede ring past life, basically in your life, your favorite character who you consider to be like, okay, he's a good leader, he's the best leader.
Bawal si
Like,
Jesus. At
bawal
saka
si Jesus,
Pope
sasabihin
Francis.
Bawal si Jesus.
Ay, dahil si
Yes.
Pope Francis,
Obvious
wala
yun
eh. Si Pope.
Ay, nako.
Hindi na rin pwede si Pope kasi sinabi na kanina ni Karlo.
Bawal. So,
But yeah,
kailangan,
pero maybe past popes pwede. Pero yun, and then, sino yun? Sino yung parang your the hero character, the lead leader character, ganyan. Kumbaga parang captain leader. Sino yun? And then, what are the traits that she have had?
Sige, I'll start.
Daming
Para
tenses, no?
mas
Sorry, go.
mahirap. No. Ako, right off my head, it was obviously Jesus because I teach theology. and yung ano namin, diba? Jesus is the liberator. Pero to be honest, it's Jesse Robredo. I mean, I wasn't part of Naga. Hindi naman ako part ng ng constituency niya, no? But what I heard about him is that siya talaga yung nagpauso ng chinelas leadership.
Yeah.
The leadership that's really grassroots oriented, no? A leadership that's really human oriented. And to be honest, siya yung politiko na utak at ugaling NGO worker, development worker. And who
Yeah.
really understands the margins and makes institutional changes that empower those who are in the margins and make them part of the decision making in the
Yeah.
policy making. And I
Yeah.
think that's one of the reasons why his kind of leadership is so influential, not to young government workers, to young development workers. It's because it's a leadership that really speaks to the normal person. It's the kind of leadership that can really be understood by even those who are uneducated. And I think that's a leadership that comes from the heart. It's not a leadership that's
Yeah.
right out that's lifted off a book or a political idea. Yun.
It's one of the great reasons, one of the major significant reasons I'm proud to be Lasallian.
I was hoping you'd mention that though. Sige.
Yeah.
Yeah, diba siya yung parang government, siya yung ng government, School of Government from LaSalle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Karlo,
Para sa
go.
akin, grabe nawala na ako kasi, sorry, si Pope talaga eh. Just because there's so much, I think I almost became atheist at some point, but it was when the Pope came and became the Pope.
Sige
A
na
lot
nga,
of
I'll
things
allow
just,
it. Go ahead.
kind of just changed now. But I think at the end of the day, if I just go back to that kind of leadership, I think it's the idea na walang ere. I've met a lot of political leaders. I've met people. I've been in rooms with politicians, and I and it's hard to find someone na hindi may ere. Alam mo yun? Like, they don't always feel so important, humility. There are actually some professors in Ateneo and even administrators who actually have exemplified that. No, I'm not gonna name drop. Am I allowed to name drop? No, but
Sige lang.
Up to
sige,
you. It's up to you.
for example, sila Sir Jimmy Hofilenya. I'm not sure if you've been able to meet him. No, he was vice president for social development. No,
Yeah.
and we used to meet when I was in SLB. We used to meet together as the Jesuit Social Apostolate to talk about these issues. And VP Attorney Jimmy Hofilenya, he just really enters the room with humility and he serves you the food, right? And you're just like, this guy is like, your vice president here, and he's out there to just really serve, no? And he's quiet, he listens to people, and he really gives his thoughts, no. Sometimes I don't even need to look far, no. There are these leaders, good people inside these rooms, spaces that we occupy that I respect because they're really, that their integrity holds, no. And I think that's one personality. What I think that's a trait for me, no. To come out not feeling that you're always the most important, that you always have to be the one on top, right? Because I think that's a good start for your leadership. If you're put in a high position, hindi mo siya gagamitin against other people. That's an attitude that I think is important, and I think that's why I love the Pope, right? He's like that. He doesn't feel like he's the greatest guy on earth, right? He started
Even though
by
he is.
yeah, right. And he just comes in and says, yung ano pa lang niya, di ba? Yung na-inaugurate siya, ang cute pa ng ano niya, di ba? Parang ganun ako siya, di ba? I hope you pray for me and you help for me, right? Like, that's his
I love that
attitude,
guy.
right? Like, and he's not the holiest person kind of feeling. Like, he doesn't project that, right? And I think that's what makes it amazing. Because,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ikaw, B.
Well, for me, copy-paste na lang ulit. De. Pero for me, ang hindi ko talaga makakalimutan, I guess, well, kung si Karlo meron siyang Pope Francis, I'll be biased and loyal na rin. Kay Cardinal Tagle. Simply because, well, I've, like many of us sa jescom siguro, we've been really witnesses and partners of Cardinal dun sa evangelization, basically. And ang hindi ko siguro makakalimutan sa practice ni Cardinal is that number one, yung charisma niya, ginamit niya para sa kabutihan.
Yeah.
It's more that like we have that gift of being like charismatic.
Yeah.
Pero it's not really para for his personal gain. Like the mission is there. Tapos there was a time nagkaroon din nahalo ang church and politics dati and everything ganyan. And then marami nang nagtatanong sa kanya, bakit walang statement si Cardinal? Ganyan. And then ang kumbaga parang tinanong namin, Cardinal, ba't ka nagsasalita, nagbibigay ng kumbaga parang press release mo, ganyan. Sabi niya, ang dami na nagsasalita eh. Sino makikinig? So that's parang, and yun lang. Talagang, it's for me is like, good leadership, maybe like the trait. It's not really enforcing something, making the rules. It's not really just that. It's also, kumbaga parang, pakinggan mo, ano bang kailangan?
Yeah.
Ano bang meron? And then you act. Tsaka ka na lang kumilos kapag napakinggan mo na. So, ikaw ba?
Okay, sige. Ako, nakakasana to eh. Sabihin ko na eh. Hindi naman siya nakikinig. Pero ako si Brother Armin. He's such a... and I've had the fortunate... I've had the good fortune of like having a personal relationship with the guy. From when he was president of the university to become the president of the whole system. To when he became DepEd secretary, and the entire time he was just so accessible and he was just so vocal. There was a time before I was a psychotherapist, I was working in an education NGO, and when I got the job, one of the first people I thought to tell about it was him, and he was just like, "Oh, hey, cool, wanna chat about it?" And we had lunch. And he was just like, I asked him his honest thoughts because, DepEd was a partner of this NGO. and he was just saying, I like what you guys are doing. I like the thrust really is for education, and as not just as DepEd secretary, but as a Lasallian brother, that's what we're pushing for. But we need more, and we need people who are really willing to go to the mountains and just really put that together. And he was just so willing to help. And even when he was being criticized for so many different things, he was just like, carry lang, I'm gonna keep doing my best, I'm gonna keep working at it, and I'm not gonna get them all, but I'm gonna do my best. And also such a great guy, like off, like no airs, also tulad ng sinasabi ni Carlo. He's just um really a personable person. Yeah. I miss him actually. I should text him. I'll text him. But yeah, sige, sorry. Why did we get there? My last question before we kind of wrap up the show is um from you individually, and also you as, I guess, Prophet Project. What's your wish, or what are your, if there's any like important message that you wish for, either, so pili na lang kayo, either for the leaders of the youth or the church or the country to hear, or the people listening in today, or to the voting public? What's the most important thing that they need to hear or do? I'll give you time to think about that for just a bit. Or baka meron na din kayo.
Ako,
Baka nakakasanay. Go.
mabilis. A quick answer for me is to totoo eh, make this a personal vote, no? Parang when you cast your vote, or when you commit to not just a candidate, no, but to the government, to participating sa social political aspect social political issues ng bansa natin. I hope the political becomes a personal enterprise for us. Imagine kung ano ang magiging epekto nito sa mga mahal natin sa buhay. I think that's the easiest way to start it. If you can imagine how a certain policy or a certain plataforma will affect your children or your parents, your loved ones, that becomes something that fuels your commitment in a more sustainable way, and in a way that cannot be corrupted by fake news. No, it's a way that it's a fuel that cannot be corrupted by fabricated narratives. I think when we begin with love, we will never go wrong. When we begin and proceed with love, it will always lead towards love. And that can guide our discernment when things get very confusing. Yun.
Thank you.
Ako, para sa akin rin siguro, I guess leaders, church leaders, no, even leaders of the youth, no. I think there's really an invitation to meet young people where they are. I work in an educational institution and church, no, and we know sometimes, no, it can be a very top down process when it comes to doctrines and all these things. And I think the invitation for young people, especially the yung mga minsan nakakausap namin sa Prophet Project, no, yung mga nasaktan dahil sa simbahan. Even though they feel Jesus is a cool guy, right? Sometimes they think that the church is not making it easy for them to see Jesus as a cool guy, right? And I think that's the difficulty. So, and I hope so, in a sense, it's an invitation, no, for our leaders in schools, in the church institutions, to be open to dialogue with young people, not to infantilize young people, meaning na sila anuin mo lang. They are people that you're supposed to, infantilize, right? Na wala silang agency. But I think to see that young people's opinions are very valid when it comes to this, no? And only when we have that attitude, feel ko magkakasalubong, or at least there's going to be development in people's faith. So when young people ask difficult, hard questions about our faith lives, I hope we don't dismiss it as, ano ba yan? Bakit ganyan yung mga pag-iisip nyo? No, I don't think that's the way to go, right? So yan, mas
Yeah.
ganun na siguro yung mensahe ko, at least for the church leaders, as they
Thank
confront
you.
young people.
So be inclusive and be considerate. Thanks, guys. B,
Thank you,
anything?
Yeah, actually wala na akong masabi. Parang ayoko nang i-ruin yun. That was like, we would like to end in that note. Pero thank you guys so much for being with us today. You had a stream pa pala, I think, yesterday. But yeah, so speaking of like your platform, would you like to invite them to, of course, tune in also to your regular stream? And then maybe can anyone join your passion project para marami na tayo ka-passion.
Go,
Sige,
Jo.
you're free to plug.
Sige pa. Every Wednesdays, you can check out our Facebook page, Profit Project page. And every Wednesday po kasi we have an FB Live. Yun, and that is one of the things that we're hoping to evolve into a full podcast. Yun, but that's one thing that we are trying to commit to. Yun din po. Also, there's a link posted in the comment section. Thank you, radyo-katipunan, for doing that. Yun po. You can also message the FB page, no? Yun. Siguro I can also do a little bit, tama, okay lang ba yun? A plug of our movement called
naman.
the...
Sure.
Ano ba yun?
Go ahead.
Sige ba? We have this thing called the Kalingang Radical Movement, which started out as a fundraiser, no, to raise funds for the campaign of a particular candidate, no, a political candidate for presidency. And it has now evolved into an actual regular outreach activity in partnership with AJ Kalinga Foundation Incorporated. So if you're interested to join the outreach events or to donate or to buy our merch, you can visit Kalingang Radical Movement FB page. Yun lang po.
Thank you.
Hindi yun. Wala na. Just to add, 7 to 8 yung ano namin. Wednesday
Every
program.
Wednesday.
Sorry, 8 to 9 pala. 7 to 8. 8 to 9 p.m. on Wednesdays, we go live on that. And if you want to find reflections as well, we try our best to release Sunday reflection, gospel reflections, no, with a socio-political slant in terms of spiritual. So, yun. That's you can join us.
Thank you. Thank you again, Joe and Karlo from the Profit Project. We found really good conversation today. Just like to say hi to the people who have listened in today. Hi Les, hi Miss Jen, Herc. Di ko alam kung anong nihitit mo ngayon. Na, joke lang.
Herc,
Sabi niya kasi,
I miss you,
sabi niya
Herc.
Pat Gamo for president daw. Parang,
Yes, we will support that.
Medyo-
Mga several years from now, maybe.
No, thank you. But again, guys, please vote responsibly. Search yourselves, discern, pray. Really, this elections are not just for you and your welfare, but for everybody, really. So, this is not going to be the last time that we're probably going to be talking about this, because this is something that is unfolding and also growing bigger and bigger. So this might not be the last time we'll see you guys. But yeah, so this has been MindEd, your weekly slice of mental health tips and tidbits. My name is Pat.
And this is B. I'm still a letter. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next
See you
week.
guys next.
Thank you, Justin.
Bye.
Thanks, Karlo.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Jess.
Johanne.
Thanks, everybody. And this is like,
Bye.
you guys have to do this. This is
Like
Spirit
the
fingers.
signing out thing that we're doing. I don't
all right.
Yeah.
Bye!
Bye.
Let us understand mental health and explore how we can take care of our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. Welcome to your weekly slice of mental health tips and tidbits with Pat and B, here on MindEd.
Sa'yo sumisilong kapag ang puso ko'y pagod.
Radyo Katipunan,